Good morning. This is Rob Angst with Earth Systems Science, covering the 2021 Henan Floods. So, I'm going to start off here. Like we did last time with the Lake Nih disaster, we're just going to give you a bit of a setting, paint a little bit of a picture here. So, the year is 2021, and it's July. So, we are coming pretty much off of the heels of the worst parts of the epidemic, particularly in China. So the infrastructure has already been weakened. There are, political turmoil going on, and things are already just a little bit unstable, particularly in the minds of the populace. And this is also during the wet season. It's also during the evening. So it's just like Lake Nyos, where the timing of the event is very important as well. So this event took 4 days to occur, and after that it was pretty much done. However, the lasting impacts are they're still being figured out. So we're going to go over the anatomy of the causes, because an event like this takes many factors. It's not one large thing that you can collectively point your finger to and be like, that was the thing. That was the thing that caused all of this. So starting off, two cyclones, Simpaka and Infa, had spun up off of the coast and essentially were the largest contributing factors to this. However, there was already heavy rainfall occurring in the area. And the other thing you have to figure out here is the Henan province is particularly mountainous and very steep in many areas. So in this, the geosphere that is in the Henan province affects your hydrosphere, which affects us, the biosphere. So the interaction of these pressure systems as well is something that we'll be getting into. So let's go over the event details and the figures. So you have this high subtropical pressure with these weak upper level winds. And so what happens is you get this mesoscale convection, which is basically you have these two systems, which are Simpaka and Infa. They congeal to form one giant monstrosity. And the problem is because you have those upper level winds, it just sits there. It got over the Henan province, and you can tell by the flooding map in particular that the event in and of itself was on a much larger scale because of the interaction of the pressure systems at play. So we're going to go over the initial impact. As it says in the slide, 1 year's worth of rain in a few days is too much. So this happened in stages, one could say. So Zhengzhou, the capital, on July 20th, received 10 inches of rain in a day. And between the total eventage, July 17th to 20th, 24.3 inches of rain in Zhengzhou alone, the capital city of the Henan province, is what the amount of rain that they received, which is almost the yearly average for that particular city. Flip through my notes here real quick. Okay, so I'm going to give you some facts and some figures here. That way you can get a little bit more of a full scale of what's going on here. So 167,000 square miles, were flooded over the course of this event, including 1.09 million hectares. And what inhabits that is 600 villages. These are small towns that can range from just like single farmland plots to larger villages. Everything essentially besides the capital. So the current cost of this event right now stands at $115 billion. And this is all the structural damage, the houses, the cars, the roads in particular, all of the infrastructure that had already been weakened by COVID got this huge punch. This $115 billion figure, however, is not accurate, because damages like this, economically, agriculturally, and in other spheres, take a full decade at least to fully tally up. Another couple of figures to give you a little bit more sense of scale. Henan lost over 300,000 homes, and this is the darker part. Over 300 people were killed and 80 are missing. This event ended up displacing 815,000 people. And according to the insurance claims that have been filed over the course of this event, and then now to the present, over 400,000 cars have been destroyed, which tallies up alone $6.4 billion in insurance claims. So we're going to move on to the larger impacts. I know a lot of that is just really, really overwhelming, especially when you just think about the sheer scale of a year's worth of rain being pushed into your capital city. The problem is when you displace 815,000 people and you stick them all in a small spot right after a pandemic, you get an outbreak of COVID. And that is exactly what happened. As there was this outbreak of COVID, it lasted for months, and that the people who died from COVID have not been included in the total tally of the people who were killed in the event. It's classified as a separate event. So, obviously, the issues here, the mitigation plans that come with an event like this were not made until after the event. This is a problem that tends to happen with people and infrastructure that is already in a normal state of being. But when you have an economic issue and when you have a pandemic, your mitigation and protection plans are probably on the back burner, which is why something like this was so acute. So all of these deaths were avoidable. There were some deaths that I think it was like 3 or 4 people who actually died in the subway tunnels, which is a perfectly avoidable issue. So there was no well-defined flood protocols. The policymakers and the government of China obviously did not take too kindly to this. The other issue that you have is some officials that were in charge during the Henan floods, after the event, tried to underreport the amount of deaths that occurred, which obviously is not going to put you in a good spot when you finally tally up the damages. So the long-term effects of this involved cleaning up the old policies and in some cases clearing out ineffective or disingenuous officials. In this case, a swift and brutal punishment occurred of over 90 government officials who underreported these deaths. Many of them were forced to simply resign or be fired, and some of them were actually put in jail. Now, I would like to finish this off with a little bit of more of a positive spin, because these events can seem just really dark and, all of the bad things happened all at once and there's nothing good to come out of it. However, one could say that politically, this helped to clear a lot of these ineffective officials, ones who were not prepared for such a disaster and would try to backpedal in the event of a disaster. But the other couple of things that I would like to point out is that this really helped modeling for climate change research and infrastructure research. So you have an event like this, and it's a perfect researching ground to determine how things happened, when things happened and what you can do to mitigate them in the future. So really, in a way, the Henan floods were a good thing, despite the deaths and the billions of dollars of damage. Something like this could help us prepare for something perhaps worse in the future, given that climate change is a thing. But now it can be more extensively researched because of events like this and how they tally into the total trend of the climate. So, once again, this is Robert Angst with Earth System Science. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you.